When my brother was accepted to law school, my parents hosted a huge party like he'd just won a major trial. When I received my acceptance letter, my dad only smirked and said, "Wow, never thought you'd actually get in." So I organized a small, low-key gathering with a few close friends and kept everything quiet. A week later, my sister realized she hadn't been invited at all, when she spotted a photo of us celebrating in the local paper. What happens when the people who should be your biggest champions, instead treat your triumphs like their personal inconvenience? Or worse, a threat. My name is Ethan, and what I'm about to tell you started when I was 22. I'd just gotten into law school. Yeah, law school. That sentence still feels unreal to say, not because I didn't believe in myself, but because almost no one else did. Especially not my own family. See, in my family, achievements weren't celebrated equally. No, not at all. My older brother, Liam. He was the undisputed golden child. Straight A's, varsity star, the perfect, obedient son. And then there was me. The quiet, artsy one. The kid who secretly devoured legal briefs and constitutional documents. The one who dared to dream a little differently, a little outside their perfect plan. 2 years before me, Liam got into law school. And when he did, oh, it was like a royal coronation. I still remember walking into our driveway that day, balloons, banners, a catering truck. Our backyard was packed. Neighbors, co-workers, cousins I hadn't seen in ages, all toasting, Attorney Liam in the making. My mom gave a tearful speech. My dad, beaming, kept saying, "This is what hard work looks like." I was genuinely proud of Liam, I really was. But something about that day, the way everyone acted like he was the only one who'd ever dared to dream big, it just stuck with me. A quiet, burning ember. Fast forward 2 years. I applied to law schools. In secret. No big announcements, no "wish me luck" posts. I didn't even tell my parents I was taking the LSAT until I'd already scored well. I studied in the pre-dawn hours, squeezed it between shifts at the law firm where I was just a receptionist. Every single break, flashcards. Lectures playing silently during dinner while everyone else binged reality TV. And then, finally, one morning, the email. "Congratulations, you've been accepted." I just stared. I reread it 10 times. 10. Before I let myself actually believe it. Then I called my best friend, Ben, and we just screamed like absolute idiots on the phone. That night, I printed the email and, almost casually, left it on the kitchen table. I didn't say a word. I just waited. The next morning, my mom congratulated me in this super casual, almost distracted tone. Like I'd just told her I'd gotten a promotion at a supermarket, not into law school. My dad. He just skimmed the letter. Then he muttered, "Huh. Well, didn't think you'd actually make it, but good for you." That sentence. Oh, it echoed in my head for days. Didn't think you'd actually make it. No smile. No hug. No, "I'm proud of you." Just that throwaway remark, like I'd stumbled into it by sheer dumb luck. It burned. A deeper, colder burn than I ever expected. And when Liam texted, heard the news. "Welcome to the club, little bro." I knew he meant well, truly. But even that felt like a pat on the head, like I was finally being allowed into their world. Honestly, I could have let it go. I tried to tell myself, they don't mean to be cruel. Maybe they just don't get it. But then I asked. "Just a small dinner," I said. "Not a party, just something simple, with family." My mom blinked at me. Blinked like I'd asked her to co-sign a mortgage. "Well, you know, we just did something big for Liam not too long ago," she said. "And money's tight." I didn't remind her that Liam's something big had cost nearly $5,000. I just nodded. And said I understood. But I didn't. That night, I called Ben. Let's throw our own thing, I told him. Something small. Just close friends. People who actually believe in me. He was all in. He offered his aunt's garden terrace, gorgeous, overlooking the hills, soft light strung over a wooden deck. Perfect. We planned it for 2 weekends later. I paid for everything myself. Charcuterie boards, drinks, candles, music. I even rented a photo booth, just because. Why not? I wanted it to feel like a memory worth keeping. And I didn't invite my family. Not because of revenge, honestly. Not at first. It was pure self-preservation. I didn't want their awkward energy, their half-hearted claps. I didn't want my sister Chloe showing up, finding a way to remind everyone how Liam had 3 offers, not just one. I wanted unfiltered joy. So, I didn't tell them. Not a word. I posted nothing on social media. Well, almost nothing. Just one story after the party. A single candid shot by a friend, me, laughing, glass in hand, lights twinkling behind me, with the caption, "Made it." I didn't expect what came next. Turns out, one of Ben's friends at the party works for a local paper. They'd been running a column featuring rising locals, spotlighting young people doing big things. This friend, bless their heart, submitted a write-up about me. Without even telling me. 2 days after the party, there it was, a photo of me, smiling in front of a simple white cake that read, Attorney Ethan, in progress, right there in the Sunday lifestyle section. Not huge, just a half-page blurb, headline, Local Student Celebrates Law School Acceptance with Close Friends. I didn't even know it had printed until Chloe sent me a screenshot. No congrats. No emojis. Just, you had a party and didn't invite us. I stared at that text for a long, long time. Then came my mom's message, why didn't we know about this? My dad, this was in the paper. What will people think? Liam, bro, this feels kind of petty. I didn't reply. They weren't angry because they missed me. They were angry because other people saw they were missing. That night, Chloe called. I let it ring 4 times. 4. Before I finally picked up. Her voice. Ice. I had to find out from a newspaper that my own brother had a celebration, she snapped. Do you know how embarrassing that is? I kept my voice eerily calm. Not as embarrassing, I said, as hearing your own dad say he didn't think you'd make it. She went quiet. Just for a second. I actually thought, for a split second, she might apologize. But then she scoffed. You're being dramatic. And there it was. The same dismissal I'd grown up with. I hung up. Didn't say another word. The next week. Things got weird. Liam showed up at my job. With coffee. Acting all casual, like he was just in the area. Look, he said, I get it. You worked hard. You deserved a party. But you didn't even invite mom and dad. That's kind of messed up, man. I looked him dead in the eye. Do you remember what Dad said the day I got in? He didn't respond. Did you ever think about what it was like, I pushed, being the shadow to your spotlight? He mumbled, it's not a competition. And maybe it wasn't. But I'd been keeping score since I was a kid. A few days later, my mom tried the classic guilt trip. A family group text. A photo of our backyard, set up with chairs and snacks. The caption. Family's always here when it counts. I didn't answer. That weekend, I ran into one of my old teachers at the grocery store. She saw me, smiled, and said, your article was lovely. Your parents must be so proud. I forced a smile. Yeah, they're thrilled. But inside, something had profoundly shifted. I hadn't wanted revenge at first, no. But now. Now it felt like they needed a stark reminder of just how invisible I'd been. And how good I'd become at staying that way. A few days after that awkward run-in, I was pacing my tiny apartment, thoughts swirling. It wasn't an explosive, shout-at-the-sky kind of anger. It was colder. Sharper. I was done. Something inside me had finally, completely, snapped into place. I'd spent years trying to earn their respect, to be noticed the way Liam had been since he could tie his shoes. And now that I'd earned something truly huge, something they once considered impossible, they were upset because they weren't part of it. Not because they cared about me. But because it made them look bad. That distinction matters. I didn't respond to the group chat. I didn't call back. Instead, I doubled down on something I'd quietly started the year before, documenting everything I'd done for the family. Especially financially. See, while I was working part-time jobs and studying non-stop, I was also silently picking up the slack around the house. Paying utilities when bills got accidentally too high. Covering Chloe's surprise car repair when she cried to Mom, and Mom sighed, well, maybe Ethan can help. I'd even Venmo'd Liam $1,000 when he forgot about a rent deadline and didn't want to ask Dad because he'd make it a thing. They all remembered those things in the moment. But the second I stopped being useful, I became invisible again. So, I started compiling receipts. It wasn't about money, not really. It was about truth. About finally making them see. I put together a folder. Titled, Unnoticed Contributions. Bills, transactions, texts where they asked for help, screenshots, dates. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet. But I wanted it ready. For once in my life, I wanted to have proof that I wasn't the moody, distant one because I lacked love. I was that way because I'd learned to be. Meanwhile, word of that newspaper photo kept spreading. Old neighbors started commenting on my post. Ben told me his mom even clipped the article and taped it to her fridge. I thought that was sweet. Until Chloe posted a story on Instagram 2 days later. A picture of Liam in his sharp business attire, smiling like a toothpaste ad. Caption, proud of this one every day. Family goals. I wasn't tagged. I wasn't mentioned. Just a not-so-subtle reminder of who they thought was really worth celebrating. That's when I made a decision. The law school I got into wasn't just any school. It was good. Competitive. Top 20 in the country. The kind of program people moved states for. I hadn't planned on moving out of town. I figured I'd save money, stay with family, commute, help out. But suddenly, the idea of living under the same roof as people who only clapped when it made them look generous. It made my skin crawl. I called the admissions office the very next day. Confirmed I was accepting the relocation option. Campus housing. 6 hours away. New state. New start. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't even hint. Instead, I spent the next 3 weeks packing. In silence. Kept everything low-key. Told Chloe I was reorganizing my room. When Liam came over one day to borrow a charger, he didn't even notice the taped-up boxes stuffed in my closet. And then, on the day I left, a quiet Wednesday morning in late June, I left 2 things behind. My keys, on the kitchen counter, with a short note. Not moving out. Moving on. I'll let you know when I land. And a copy of that newspaper article. The one Chloe found out from. Pinned to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a graduation cap. Then I turned off my phone. And I drove. I expected a flood of texts, missed calls, maybe even guilt-trippy voicemails about, abandoning the family. But when I turned my phone back on hours later, there were only 4 messages waiting for me. From Chloe, seriously, that's how you tell us? From Dad, good luck, I guess. Keep us posted. From Mom, call when you get there and try not to be dramatic. And the 4th, from Liam, let me know if you need help settling in. Proud of you, man. That one caught me off guard. I stared at it for a long, long time. Unsure if it was truly sincere. Or just damage control. My new apartment was small. Barely more than a dorm with kitchen privileges. But it was mine. I unpacked slowly, set up my study area, hung up a corkboard with quotes I liked. One of them said, "Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers." I kept that one front and center. Orientation came and went. I made new friends. Professors remembered my name. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was playing catch-up to someone else's legacy. Until, about a week later, something really strange happened. My roommate walked in, holding a letter. "Hey, this came for you," he said. "Looks kind of formal." It was a thick, cream envelope. Embossed lettering. Inside, a fancy invitation. "You are cordially invited to a joint celebration dinner in honor of our sons, Liam and Ethan, future attorneys of our family. Hosted at a swanky restaurant back home. Dozens of RSVPs, open bar. A slideshow, even. But here's the thing, I hadn't been invited. The envelope was addressed to Attorney Ethan Carter. But it wasn't from my parents. It was from the restaurant. They never told me. Never called. Never asked if I'd even attend. They just slapped my name on the invite, like I was some accessory to Liam's success. Like now that I had a bit of recognition, they could finally use me. And that's when the plan came together. Because I wasn't just going to skip the dinner. No. I was going to make sure they remembered exactly why I wasn't there. And I already knew how. The idea hit me while I stared at that stupid envelope. It wasn't rage. Not even heartbreak. It was clarity. Like a puzzle I'd been trying to solve for years had finally clicked into place. They hadn't invited me. Not directly, anyway. No phone call. No personal message. No, "We want to celebrate you." They didn't care about me. They cared about the image. About having both sons as law students. A perfect family tableau to post, toast, and boast. I tucked the invitation under my desk lamp and just stared at it. The thought of them lifting glasses in my name, while I sat hundreds of miles away, a silent endorsement for their narrative. It made my stomach churn. But I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to call or text or beg to be seen. No. I was going to show them exactly what happens when you treat your son like a backup trophy. So I called Ben. "I need a favor," I said. "And I promise, it's going to be beautiful." He was in, immediately. "What are we talking?" he asked, practically vibrating. "Billboard? Banner? Helicopter drop?" I laughed. "Not quite. I need someone to attend the dinner." "Not me. Someone else." "You want a +1 to a dinner you're not even going to?" "Exactly. But not just anyone. I want someone with a camera." It clicked for him instantly. "You want proof. Not just proof. I want the look on their faces documented when they realize I'm not coming. When they read the letter I'm going to have delivered instead. When the slideshow gets to the slide about me, and there's nothing to show." Ben was practically giddy. "Ethan, this is next-level petty genius. What do you need me to do?" Over the next few days, we put everything into motion. I wrote a letter. Short. Sharp. Impossible to misinterpret. I had it printed on heavy linen paper, sealed it in an envelope with a wax stamp. Not because I'm fancy, but because I wanted it to feel final. The letter read, "To whom it may concern, thank you for organizing a celebration in my honor without ever speaking to me. You didn't ask if I wanted to be there. You didn't ask if I felt celebrated when I got into law school. You didn't even say congratulations. So, I hope tonight's toast goes smoothly. I hope the slideshow runs without glitches. I hope the guests nod and clap and say, 'What a wonderful family.' But I won't be there to smile for your cameras. Because I'm not an accessory in someone else's narrative. I'm not a prop in the story you only tell when it's convenient. Sincerely, Ethan Carter." I had the envelope hand-delivered by a courier Ben arranged. Not some kid in a hoodie, no. We hired a well-dressed, professional delivery service. Someone who would show up, ask for my parents by name, and deliver that letter during the dinner. Right around the time they were planning the toast. The night of the dinner arrived. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't bitter. I made myself a cup of tea, lit a candle, and watched the sunset from my dorm window. It was peaceful. I felt unburdened. Then, right around 8:37 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Ben. Delivered right before the toast. "You're not going to believe what happened next." And then came the photos. Blurry at first. People seated at long, white-clothed tables, glasses raised. A projector set up near the back wall. The slideshow had started. Liam's photos, his first day of law school, his moot court competition, a group shot with classmates. Of course, I wasn't in any of them. Then, according to Ben, a slide appeared that said, "And now, our other future attorney, Ethan." Only there was no photo. Just a spinning load icon. A file that hadn't been uploaded. And then. The courier. Stepping deliberately towards the main table. Straight-faced, utterly professional. He handed the envelope to my mother. She opened it. Read one line. And went completely still. My dad took it from her, scanned the rest. Ben texted, you could literally hear the air change. Like someone opened a freezer in July. Then Chloe grabbed the paper, skimmed it, and loudly whispered, "Are you serious? He's such a diva." My mom stood up, tried to regain control, raised her glass. "Anyway," she said, her voice a little shaky now. "To our sons, both working hard to become attorneys." But nobody clapped. And Liam? Liam looked down at his plate and didn't say a word. Ben's last photo of the night was of the dessert table. Uneaten slices of cake. An untouched second frame that said, "Congratulations, Ethan and Liam." With 2 printed photo clips on the corner. Only one photo was there. The other clip dangled empty. Ben texted one last time, "You did it. You stole the whole show without even showing up." I didn't reply. I just stared at that photo. And I smiled. And then, the next day, I got a message I truly wasn't expecting. It was from Liam. "I didn't know they didn't tell you. I thought you were coming. Can we talk?" And that's when I realized the story wasn't over. Not yet. I didn't respond to Liam's message right away. I sat with it. Reread it that morning, again that afternoon, and once more late at night when I couldn't sleep. I kept asking myself, did he really not know? Or is this just more of the same? Just trying to clean up the mess now that it's public. But, something about the way he wrote it. Short. Direct. Almost, unsure. It didn't feel like the polished, confident version of Liam I'd grown up with. It felt real. Human. So, For the first time since all this began, I decided to stop assuming. I told him we could talk. A video call. Just us. He called me that night. And for once, he didn't open with a joke or a line. He just looked at the screen for a long second before saying, "Hey." I leaned back in my chair. "So, you didn't know?" Liam shook his head. "I swear, Ethan, they told me you were invited. That you'd be there. Mom said you were just being dramatic and not answering. I thought you were going to show up last minute and make a scene, like always." That last bit stung. But I let it slide. "I never got an invite," I said. "I didn't even know about it until the restaurant sent me a formal letter. They were throwing a dinner with my name on it, and no one told me." Liam rubbed his face. "I didn't know. I mean, I figured things were tense, but I didn't realize how bad it got." "It's always been like this," I said, quieter now. "You just didn't have to notice. You were too busy being the favorite." He sighed. "Yeah. I think I wanted to believe everything was fine between you and them, because it made things easier for me. I didn't want to see how different they treated you." He paused. I didn't say anything then. But after that letter, and after watching Mom try to fake that toast, man, it was obvious. You were right. You're not just an accessory. You deserve to be more than a side note in your own story. It was the first time in my entire life that Liam admitted I had a point. It didn't erase everything. But it mattered. Then he said something I really didn't expect. "You know, I never really liked that party they threw for me. Not the law school one. It felt like they were celebrating themselves, not me. Like they were more excited about telling people they raised a future attorney than the fact that I got in." I blinked. "You never said that. Would you have believed me?" He had a point. The call ended with something rare. Not a full resolution, no. But a handshake between two people who had finally started seeing each other clearly. We weren't suddenly best friends. But something had shifted. Deeply. After that, things moved quickly. My mom texted me 3 days later. A long paragraph. All about how things got out of hand, and how she wished I had just talked to them about my feelings instead of trying to embarrass everyone. My reply. A single sentence. If I had ever felt heard, I wouldn't have had to write the letter. She didn't respond. Dad tried calling. I let it go to voicemail. His message was short, stiff. More about how the letter caught them off guard than anything remotely close to an apology. I deleted it. Didn't even listen to the end. But Chloe. Oh, Chloe posted something on social media. A story. A blurry photo of her wine glass. White text caption, "Some people just love playing the victim. Must be exhausting." I didn't engage. Not because I didn't have a comeback, believe me, I had plenty. But because I'd finally understood the profound difference between revenge and healing. Revenge? That was for them. Healing? That was for me. Instead of spiraling back into that old, toxic dynamic, I focused on building the life I'd fought for. Law school. Oh, it was brutal. Nights studying until my eyes ached. Mornings pounding coffee like it was water. Afternoons buried in case studies and legal clinics. But I loved it. I thrived in it. And slowly, I started to feel like the world I'd built for myself, without my family's applause, was the most honest, most real thing I'd ever had. I still spoke to Liam now and then. For my birthday, he even sent me a book on appellate procedure, with a sticky note inside that just said, "This one helped me. Hope it helps you." I kept it on my desk. Chloe and I. We didn't speak again. And my parents? We exchanged maybe 3 texts over the next year. Mostly superficial holiday greetings. Polite. But hollow. I never brought up the dinner. Neither did they. The silence between us. It wasn't awkward anymore. It was peaceful. Then, about a year later, something happened. I got an email from the school. I'd been selected for a feature in their quarterly alumni newsletter. A spotlight on first years doing exceptional work in their legal clinics and moot court competitions. They asked for a photo and a quote. I submitted one of me, standing in a suit and tie in front of the courthouse, smiling, a copy of the U.S. Constitution in my hand. My quote. The people who believe in you are your real family, blood or not. When the newsletter came out, it got shared on the school's social media. A few old friends reshared it. Ben texted me a string of celebratory emojis. I didn't think much of it. Until I got a message from my aunt, my mom's sister. She wrote, "Just saw the post. Wow, I didn't even know you were doing this well. Your parents don't talk about you much anymore. They say things are complicated, but I just want to say I'm proud of you. Truly." That hit harder than I expected. Not because I needed her validation. But because it confirmed something I'd long suspected. My family wasn't just silent around me. They were rewriting the story altogether. They weren't proud. They were embarrassed. Not because of what I did. But because I refused to play my role. Because I stood up and said, no. You don't get to celebrate me when it's convenient. You don't get to put me on your mantle after leaving me in the shadows. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I graduate next year. And Ben says we're throwing the biggest damn party the city's ever seen. But this time. No borrowed gardens or soft lights. He's talking rooftop venue, string quartet, custom cocktails, the whole deal. And who's on the guest list? Just the people who were there when it mattered. No space for stage toasts. No room for empty chairs. Just real faces, real support. Real love. Because in the end, it's not about revenge. It's about recognition. And I don't need theirs anymore. I've already found mine. So, I guess my question for you is, have you ever had to choose between your family's approval and your own peace? What did you do? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear your stories.